Hey guys, you are listening to the Space Between podcast. I'm Renae. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Again, this whole thing is just a dream come true. A nurse that got fed up of working for the man and just, wanted to find out who she was. And so, I started a podcast talking about something I love, which is the Dave Matthews Band, but even more so the fans around the Dave Matthews Band. So many amazing people that surround the band itself. And so that is what this podcast is about. So thank you for listening. We are in the beginning of August, which is such an exciting time. I try to remember this is such an exciting time for the band because they are getting some well-deserved time off with their family, right? Like it seems like maybe there's some August birthdays in the family for the, band and stuff. And so it's important to remember that, they're not machines, and it's good for them to get to go home and be with their families. And because of course they're just like you and I, they need their time too. So I'm so excited for the band to get that. But of course, for us as fans, that opens up, I think, and one word does the best job to describe what I think most people or most fans are feeling right now. If you're an avid Dave Matthews Band fan, you may be experiencing something that a lot of people like to call DAVEpression. So similar to depression. But people are, call it DAVEpression. It's that in-between time where, summer, the band has been hitting the road so hard. And I mean, having Tuesday shows, Wednesday shows, Friday, Saturday. So we've just been so well fed. Whether, it's been from the couch tour or just the Friday night XMs, we are being well fed, by the Dave Matthews Band. And so right now there is no live music from the band. But of course we still have all of the recordings and all of the things that have happened this year. But of course that opens us all up to talking about what's next, right? And so we know that the band is on break schedule-wise as far as touring together as the Dave Matthews Band. I'm sure they each have their own little endeavors. I know that Tim Reynolds in his band TR3 just announced their tour that is coming up. And so, of course, each band member has their outside things that they do. And so it's cool to see them get to do all of their side gigs, or maybe the Dave Matthews Band is their side gig, however you look at it. But of course they're on a break from touring together until August 24th, which is the next show. And of course that starts the West Coast shows, California, a couple California shows, and then Bend, Oregon. And then that opens up to what a lot of people are talking about, which is the next, I guess, big show. Of course, we're talking about the Gorge. So many people are so excited. If you're a member of any Facebook groups that are Dave Matthews Band related, then you've probably seen all of the side pages that there are that talk specifically about the pilgrimage to the Gorge. And I believe that is even one of the page names. So there are so many helpful pages if this is your first year heading to the Gorge, or, if you've been before. It's a whole sub-community of people who have been, have never been, have tips, tricks for not only the voyage there, but like once you get there and what to expect. And so I say all this to say that 2023, I mean, God, in a few weeks, I don't even know the day count right now, but I think it's somewhere in like the 20s. I will be at the Gorge for my very first time. I'm going to be completely honest, because why not be? I am intimidated because there is such a buildup about the Gorge. I'm sure each of you can remember the time right before your first time. And, I'm sure it's very likened to like losing your virginity, right? Like there's such a buildup, and then you do it and you're like, oh, okay, I got it. Like that was probably like the worst, whatever, but that's what I said, so I'll stick by it. But yeah, this is my very first year. I'm so excited that my husband is jumping in and coming at the very last minute. And I say that because I had plans A, where I was going with a group of girlfriends, and it was my, again, still first time. And then I got back from my New York trip, of course, recording the podcast and stuff. And my husband was just so incredibly sweet and was just like, I miss you and I want to be part of this. And so I am so excited to announce that my husband is going to be joining me for his first voyage as well to the Gorge. And so we're really excited to get to do this trip together. So yeah, if you're there, we're going to be in the Gold, camping, I guess is what you call it, the Gold. I don't know, Gold section. You have to remember, this is my very first time. So like all of the ways that people talk about this, I'm not for sure what anyone is talking about. Like I understand that like there are different colors and sections and all of the things, but like it's still just words to me because I've never been. So, if there are any other first timers out there, definitely hit me up, comment on my social media pages. We do try to go through all of the comments. So definitely let us know if you are on your first voyage to the Gorge. Of course, Justin and I will be there to work. Of course, we're there to kind of experience what the Gorge is and what everyone says that it is. And of course, we're definitely there for the music. I'm so excited to get 3 days of music from a band that I love so much. And so I think that we're going to get quite the catalog. I have zero expectations because expectations do nothing but set you up for like disappointment. But here's the deal. This band, I don't think could ever disappoint me. I think we all have preferences, of course, likes and dislikes and preferences, but they could never disappoint me. I always say they could sing the phone book and I would be like, thank you, sir. May I have another? Like, that's how this is going to go. So I'm so excited about this trip. We will definitely, if you're in Gold, come find us, or if you have the ability to come to Gold, I don't know how all of this works, but if you find yourself in Gold, definitely find us. Our RV will be well marked as the Space Between Podcast RV. So we'll have some fun things outside, even if we're not there at the RV, some things and some games we're going to have that'll be fun for you to find. It's just going to require you to have your phone. And so we'll have some fun QR codes that will allow you to tag yourself at our RV. And then, of course, one of those people that check in using that QR code or that tags us, the Space Between Podcast, is going to get some cool Space Between Podcast swag. And so definitely be on the look for that. I'm so excited to meet a lot of people, and I definitely want to hear your story. I know that the Gorge is one of those places or one of those venues that stories are created there. Families are created there, literally. I hear that, that is one of the best venues or one of the biggest venues for people to like get engaged there or to get married. I don't know. I don't know all of the, I'm sure there are so many fabulous stories of things that happen there. So if you have a great story, I would definitely love to hear that. And hit me up on social media too, commenting on any kind of, post on our Facebook page is the best way. If you're not following us on Facebook, it is a group on Facebook. It's not a page, it's a group. It's the Space Between Podcast. And then it says a DMB family discussion. So be sure to find our group on Facebook. On Instagram, we are under the space between _POD. And of course, the space between is all together, no spaces, underscore, and then POD. I do want to give a shout out to a fun, if you are on Instagram, definitely thank you for following us on Instagram. We want to try to be, everywhere. We're actually on the new social media Threads. If you're not familiar with that, I believe, and I don't want to say that I know what Threads is exactly, but like it's a new platform for social media. It's supposed to be like, I believe, a Twitter form, but it's owned, I believe, by Facebook, I believe is the right thing. Anyways, I understand the importance of social media and marketing, so we do try to have a presence on all of that. So if you're on Threads, definitely find us. It is the same as our Instagram, which is the space between _POD. But anyways, back to Instagram. If you're not following DMB memes, and it's all together, DMB memes, MEMES, definitely check them out. I use their memes a lot on our Facebook group, and so I want to give them a shout out. They are creators that understand my, my sense of humor, or I get theirs or whatever. And so, they have come up with some of the best memes, and they're all Dave Matthews Band related. And typically, like if you follow them, you're going to get all of the current memes. So, if the boys are at Madison Square Garden, the memes that come out at that time are going to be specific to that venue. So, what they're doing is fun. So be sure to follow them on Instagram. They're just fun to watch. So, I want to talk just briefly about how this podcast is doing. Again, I told you in the beginning that this was all something that was started by me kind of as a passion project and to kind of escape my professional life as a nurse. Which I was in sales and marketing, but I went to school to be a nurse. And so I was in medical sales and marketing. And so, this podcast all kind of started as a way for me to, I guess, let out some steam and talk about something that I loved and let it be a creative outlet to, for me. And what it's done is just been, it's been a lot of fun. Are all of the episodes that I have perfect or even good? No, absolutely not. I definitely have some crappy episodes. But the funny thing is like, again, I've just kind of been learning how to do this. Podcasts are not my background, and this is definitely not, I'm not a tech person. So it's been fun to learn a new skill and push myself and say, hey, what can you do? So I believe in like pushing myself and keeping myself vulnerable and keeping myself, just learning new things and just bettering myself as long as it's making me happy and not putting me like in a negative headspace. And so this has just been a really great way for me to learn some new skills, but also just I've met so many amazing people because of this podcast, but ultimately, obviously, because of the band, because we're all here for the music. So it's just been amazing. So thank you for listening to this. If you have friends that love the Dave Matthews Band, definitely tell them about this podcast. Our success definitely depends on people listening to this. And that's something that's tracked is like how many listeners. And when we talk about listeners, we're talking about downloads because each time you listen to an episode, that's considered a download. So we have some big numbers that have happened. And I'm just so completely humbled that anyone cares what I'm doing. And I love it. And so the fact that other people love it too is just really, it's just really amazing. So thank you so much for helping me do something that I would have never dreamed that I would have the courage to do. So thank you for helping me like push myself into an uncomfortable space and being vulnerable and doing something that I never dreamed I could do and making my dreams come true. So thank you. There's that. I just can't show enough gratitude for all that's happened and all that's going to happen. So again, thank you so much for helping me make this happen. Okay, so I cannot believe this, but this podcast actually has over 50 episodes. I can remember there was a time this year that I was like, I don't even know that I will ever reach 20 episodes. But it's because of the people that listen to this podcast have just they have like given me so many amazing stories to continue to share with everyone that's listening and everyone that's going to listen to, because all of these episodes are available all of the time. All of the time, even though I'll be the first to admit, you don't daily. I'm like, ooh, I should probably take that episode down, or, oh, Jesus, I should definitely take that episode down. Because sometimes, it's really hard to be brave enough to say what is in your head, and to not necessarily have a filter. But I kind of felt like that's what a podcast was supposed to be. It was like to say what I wanted to say, no matter if it was wrong, right, whatever. And, it didn't matter. This is how I felt. And so it's been super hard to have a voice and have people listen to it and not agree to what I may be saying. But again, what I'm saying is just my personal beliefs, my personal thoughts, my gatherings of a story. Sometimes people talk on this podcast and I can't control what they say. And so this is a safe space where people can just say stuff. And at any given moment, if a listener hears something that they don't appreciate, or that could possibly offend them, or, that makes them uncomfortable. First, I want to say, I'm sorry, that was never my intentions. But second, I want to say, thankfully, that's a freedom we have, is to be able to just turn off things when we don't like it, and you don't have to go back to it. And, just being kind to others. If you don't agree with what I'm saying or what others are saying on this podcast, that's cool. Totally fine with me. Just move on. And so, anyways, the podcast is doing really good. So thankful. I'm so excited to share some stories from the Gorge. Again, if you have some stories about the Gorge, definitely let me know. And last thing I want to talk about. This has been a short but sweet, for certain, episode. I've got two fun things I want to talk about, and I've really tried to not get personal anymore, for many reasons that I probably will never talk about. But I'm trying to not be very personal, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but like, it is what it is. But anyways, I'm going to tell you a few stories. So my daughter, I have 4 children. That's not a mystery. I have 4 children. I'm married. I live in the state of Arkansas. That's who I am as a person. So my kids, they're all very different ages, but my daughter, who is a young teenager, gets very excited about music. And for me, it is so beautiful to watch them all find their own taste in music. And I've never tried to push things on them. Yes, they are very aware of my passion, I'll say, for the Dave Matthews Band, but and yet, yes, have I ever been like, listen to this? Yes. But I don't like push it on them and say, you've got to listen to the Dave Matthews Band. I don't do that. So it's been fun to watch them all kind of find their own way. My oldest actually is an adult, but he went to not his first Post Malone concert, but he went to his first Post Malone concert where he was in the pit. And so
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Rich from the Eddie Casino Band out in Las Vegas. We're really excited to get this journey going, celebrating our music, our original music, on all platforms. We just released our first single over Labor Day weekend called Eddie Casino. If you're looking for new music, look out for our next single coming out to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Music. These guys in the band are really excited to get started playing music for you all. If you like Tom Petty, Zach Brown, Jason Mraz, Dave Matthews Band, Rob Thomas, Jimmy Buffett, Pink Floyd, Stapleton, Bare Naked Ladies, Goose, Billy Strings, Sting and the Police, a ton of influences that we bring to the table. Hope you enjoy our music and look forward to seeing you soon live on stage.
It's so fun to see him so passionate about that, and both of my oldest boys have shared Post Malone's new album that just actually came out like last week. Have shared the music with me because they understand that I love music in general, and so I want to be part of their musical world. And I have to say that Post Malone really did put out a very vulnerable album last week. I know that he slowly released some of the songs, kind of like the Dave Matthews Band, or probably most bands where they do a slow leak, here's one or two before the album drops. But I think that Post Malone, his name is Austin, I believe, is what the kids tell me. I don't know, he showed some vulnerability. He showed that he can play multiple instruments. His voice was a little more stripped down than normal, and his songs had some really, I think, painful and like lovely and beautiful lyrics. I believe that he's an artist that writes kind of as a lot of artists do, write about their experiences and their journeys in life, and so. It's a beautiful album if you haven't checked it out. And if Post Malone's not your jam, that's cool. But like lyrically, he is actually reaching out to our young generation. He has such a strong hold, and rightly so, on our kids. And so I think it's important to be involved in their music, and because we can learn something too of course we can continuously learn something from even younger people. We can probably learn the most from the youngest people because they haven't been completely brainwashed yet, but we won't even get on that topic. But okay, so music recommendations other than Post Malone. If you haven't checked out The Revivalist, they've been around for a little bit. I actually got to see them, I want to say a year or two ago. They were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and so I live not too far from there, and so I went and checked them out. Really good live band. They have a horn section. Definitely love them. Very, very talented dudes. Lettuce. Now, a lot of you may have heard of Lettuce because, yes, they have opened for the Dave Matthews Band at the Gorge. And that is, I believe, kind of, not that I've ever been to the Gorge before, because, again, I haven't. This is my first year. But that's where I heard about them because, of course, I've listened to the boys play at the Gorge. I've just never actually been there. And so that's how I heard about Lettuce. And so be sure to check them out. They've dropped a couple of albums since they were at the Gorge. And so I actually did get to see them. They came to Arkansas and continue to come back because it's fucking awesome here. But Lettuce is such a cool, like, funk, God, I don't know, like so funky, and I love it. I love it. I love it. And so it's got a good beat. Like my husband says he likes to run to them. It's just got a good solid beat. They're really funky, and that's just the best word to describe Lettuce. But then also Marcus King Band. If you're into Chris Stapleton, which I have a mad respect for him because he has such a vocal range, and I think he's just like incredibly talented with the gift that he has, but he brought along Marcus King Band, and Marcus King has been touring with Chris Stapleton. I also got a chance to see the Marcus King Band here in Arkansas, and God, just what's fun about them is like he doesn't sound like anyone else, and I think that's what captures my ears, and I think that's what captures most people's ears, is the fact when you can hear a sound or you can hear a voice that doesn't sound like anything you've ever heard before, or even maybe just a slightly different way than you've heard before, that's money right there, right? And so Marcus has like this amazing soulful voice, and it's hard for me to peg him exactly, and I don't know how he's like coded as a musician, like what genre or whatever, but without me looking, I would say that he is, and don't ream me if I'm just completely wrong with this, but like, Marcus King, obviously he could fit in well with country music, and I think that's why he did so well with Chris Stapleton, because they have like the slide guitar, and so like there's that country undertone to his music. So I think I just think he fits in well, but I think he could tour with Dave Matthews. I think that the Dave Matthews Band and the Marcus King Band could do amazing things together. But like, and I genuinely say that I would say, if I didn't think that, I don't think anyone could pair up with Dave Matthews Band and make it work well. I mean, like, I'm not saying that the boys wouldn't sound good. I'm just saying like it's its own breed of music. So not everything is going to go together, but hey, maybe I'm wrong, and that's okay. I am wrong a lot. So anyways, guys, keep following us on social media. That's where you're going to get updated the most. So if you're not following us on Facebook, be sure to follow us on the group page. It is The Space Between Podcast, a DMB family discussion. And we've got some cool things coming up. If you've listened this far, thank you so much for listening to me for 25 minutes. That's amazing that anyone would want to do that. But thank you so much. I'm just so grateful for you doing it, because you're making my dream happen. And so thank you for caring enough to help me. Like, you don't know how amazing this has been for me. Thank you. Just like, oof, so good. Anyways, be sure to follow us on Facebook, and then Instagram. It's the space between _POD. And so be sure to follow us on both, and keep up with what we're doing. We're going to continue to put out weekly episodes. I've got a really fun one that's coming up with a couple of really cool dudes that I have mad respect for. And so we're going to be talking about something that I think a lot of people will find interesting. We're going to break down a wonderful all year long drink called bourbon. If you are a bourbon fan, we have an episode coming up right here on The Space Between. So be sure to stay tuned on our Facebook page, on our Instagram page, for upcoming news about our bourbon episode. We have several DMB fans who are bringing their best bourbon recipes so that you can make a craft drink right in your house with little or no effort. And then they're going to share their ties of bourbon and to the Dave Matthews Band. There are so many references of bartender and about, alcohol in general in the lyrics of the Dave Matthews Band. So we're going to tie those two together, bourbon and the Dave Matthews Band. So be sure to look for that episode. Again, the best way to keep up with this is to definitely hit us up on social media and follow us. Again, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. The best way you can help us is by sharing this. The more people that listen to this podcast, the more it helps us. And of course, that's a free act of kindness. So thank you so much for helping us. Guys, I cannot wait to see you at the Gorge. But until then, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.